Goosebumps, one of my favorite shows in my childhood, was very popular during the 90s and early 2000s. While most spooked me while I was younger, these are some I look back on now and find very silly, although all of these episodes are still for the most part enjoyable to watch, especially if you are feeling sentimental. The first goofy villain I would personally mention is the ants in Awesome Ants. Overall, the story begins with Dave becoming motivated to do a science project on ants after an interesting conversation with an exterminator who nonchalantly states, quote, "If things had been a little bit different, they'd be the dominant species instead of us," end quote. Thus, Dave begins his science project that leads to the ants being overfed, causing rapid infestation and for them to grow larger. Then later, he realizes that ants were always the dominant species. Humans being the dominant species was all just a dream to him. I've just never been scared of ants, nor most bugs in general, so the idea of an ant infestation wasn't really terrifying, it just grossed me out. Though, like most of R.L. Stine's creations, I thought it was a creative story, but this specific story just wasn't my cup of tea. The second villain I thought was silly were the worms in Go Eat Worms. The story is about a young boy named Todd who loves to play pranks with his worms, especially on his sister. In fact, he unexpectedly spooks his sister when he puts them in her hair unexpectedly, causing her to be upset, but also the worms too, as they are being put in harmful situations. Resultantly, his behavior causes the worms to turn the tables on him, where he has to worry about them showing up unexpectedly now. For example, they show up in his house, starting off in his bedroom, on his homework, his bed, and even his friend's food. Overall, Todd has to overcome his hobby of collecting worms so as to not harm them in order to appease the worms. However, he causes more issues for himself when he collects butterflies and tries to learn fishing because nobody is putting up with him. Personally, I feel the same way about this episode, but to reiterate, bugs don't spook me. I just think they are gross when there's an infestation. I also thought the main character Todd was a little bit annoying. The third silliest villain was the sponge and It Came From Beneath the Sink. Not gonna lie, this was one of my favorite episodes when I was younger, though looking back on it now I still enjoy it but find it more comedic overall. It starts when Kit and her family move into a new house where she finds an evil sponge beneath the sink. Honestly, I was more terrified of Kit contracting rabies when she went to pet the unknown creature with glowing eyes. Instead though, she ends up being the unfortunate owner of a living bad luck charm. In fact, the sponge thrives off of bad luck, such as causing her to fall, her brother to get cut by glass, and their dog to go missing. They tried to get rid of it by burying it in the ground. Little did they know at the time that all they needed to defeat the sponge was happy music. Funny enough, in the end, the sponge is defeated by compliments, and the song You Are My Sunshine, and a fire extinguisher. Later, it is subjected to listen to happy music for the rest of Kit's lifetime. I love this episode, but it's so funny looking back on it now. The fourth ridiculous villain in the Goosebumps show was at first believed to be a bottle of mysterious instant tan from My Hairiest Adventure. In this episode, Larry just can't catch a break. He keeps getting chased by dogs for some reason, and after receiving medicine from his doctor, Dr. Merkin, and using some instant tan, he is growing hair excessively all over his body. Suspecting the instant tan is what caused him to become super hairy, it is later revealed that Larry was actually a dog that Dr. Merkin experimented on, giving him the opportunity to be a human for only 12 years. After those 12 years are up though, he reverts back to his original form, a dog. To be fair, this episode was really creative and had a great plot twist. Though at the end of the day, the terror of the episode is that Larry becomes a golden retriever, therefore it lands on this list for being comical. The fifth goofy villain was the gnomes from Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes. It all begins with Joe's dad being an avid gardener and decorator, then coming across what seems to be an amazing find, lawn gnomes. Thus he brings home these lovely garden gnomes that end up becoming absolute savages at night. For example, they damage Joe's father's plants such as his tomatoes, trashing the neighbor's yard, and even painting all over innocent melons. Playing pranks is their job, and they accomplish it well by causing plenty of drama with the neighbor Mr. McCall and Joe's family. Funny enough, they are defeated by a dog whistle and get replaced by a plastic gorilla lawn ornament. I actually love this episode and it's still one of my favorites, but these gnomes are more or less just adorable assholes that live in their yard. Though I feel the need to mention that what they did to Mr. McCall was messed up and disturbing. Poor guy got turned into a gnome lawn ornament that gets roasted by everybody that sees him. In conclusion, the 5 most goofiest episodes with humorous villains came from Awesome Ants, Go Eat Worms, It Came From Beneath the Sink, My Hairiest Adventure, and Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes. At the end of the day though, all I can say that I haven't said already is watch Goosebumps if you missed out on this treasure, and stay spooky. Also, honorable mention before I go is Welcome to the Dead House, because socializing forever with a bunch of people you can't get rid of sounds like an absolute nightmare. Anyways, thanks for listening and have a good rest of your day.